Hey! Hi, girls.
Hi.
How are you
On the
doing?
other side. Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, great.
Doing
Good
good.
Monday.
Starting the week with a good feeling, I hope. Yeah.
At least sunny weather in the Netherlands, so I'm
Exactly.
happy.
It finally stopped raining. Like, what
Yeah.
did we do to deserve this? It's so lovely.
Oh,
Yeah.
finally, summer has
I'm so
started.
happy. In late June.
No, and I'm actually really excited for today's episode because we were already having such a lively discussion
Indeed.
backstage, and then we're like, oh
Yeah.
no, wait, it's time. We should actually be
We need to
doing
go
this
live.
live. So I feel like today's going to be a really good one. And we have a really
Indeed.
special guest. Should we already bring her on just because?
Let's do
We're too
that.
excited.
Oh, there
right?
she is.
Hey!
Oh my God.
What's up?
Hey, Jessy.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait. So we are ready, like bring you on the stage.
Yeah,
So,
I'm ready too. So you guys want to me to introduce myself or
yes,
Of course,
yes.
that would be amazing.
what's up, guys? My name is Jessy. I'm a front-end developer and I also work with Web3, and I'm also a technical content creator. And so I give workshops and talks. And yeah, I love to talk about code and all the things that come with it.
Nice. Such a good streaming to join if you like to talk about code, because that's what we aim for. So that's perfect. Love them.
And all girls, like,
Yeah.
Yes.
oh, amazing. Yes, I love it. I love
And
it
all
already.
of us
Yeah.
different hairstyles I can see. So that's perfect too. Like we have everything covered.
It's like the Powerpuff Squad or whatever you were watching in your channel.
The power pose squat. Yeah, the power
Exactly.
I like that. I love the energy. So I think we all, from what I know, are quite new to Web3. So if you don't mind, I think as I cannot already wait to ask you questions, can I start already?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
shoot.
Okay.
Oh,
cool.
hello.
Cool. Oh.
He's very needy. He comes every stream and he's like, hello, can we please talk about me? So I'm so sorry. He's going to do that a lot.
He's interested in code. I mean,
Indeed.
Sometimes he sleeps on the keyboard. That's when I produce my highest quality code. So,
Oh. So cute. All right, then I think I'm gonna go with the easy one. So how did you like find the Web3 is interesting for you, or how did you find your current career working in the Web3 and the content?
ooh, that's okay. Let me give you the short version.
Okay, you could also give us a long one.
The long one. Oh, okay. I think, how did I get in Web3? About 2 years ago, I would say, when blockchain came up more and it was more available for Web3 for developers in general, to use tools or to just get acquainted with it, you to start creating smart contract. And the funny thing is that I actually am graduated in law, and so I studied at the University of Amsterdam. I even worked as a tax law consultant. So yeah, and then I switched my career to being a software developer. Now with Web3 and blockchain, and then suddenly having smart contract. I don't know if you know that, but that's a big part of blockchain. It just all came together. Like it came together, like my technical skills and my previous financial and law skills. It kind of came together. So that's how I got into it. Web3 is all about community as well. So there was this great community in Amsterdam, and also my friends who I used to work with in America, Clever Programmer, huge. They started building a lot of dApps, and I built those with them too. And that's how I kind of got into it. So it's more of interesting, but also seeing the possibilities and the innovation that came with it. And obviously my law background was now still being put to use in technical endeavors. So that was for me personally really interesting and professionally. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. But now we kind of like we're jumping back and forth, right? But maybe for those folks who don't necessarily know what Web3 is, and it's a little bit abstract to me as well, maybe you can specify what that entails, and also in real life. Like there's, of course, the really crazy advanced things, but how can we maybe relate it to real life? And what does that mean, Web3?
So let's just take it back, like what Web3 is, right? Because so we start with the what. So a little bit of history. We first had Web 1, and Web 1 is, anybody remembers Internet Explorer? Yahoo?
The good times,
am I revealing our age here, guys?
Indeed.
So that was a read-only internet, okay? And after that, we started, blogging, posting blogs. We started posting videos on the internet. We started, doing these things like Facebook posts, YouTube videos, and all that. So we started writing data to the internet. So first only read, now read, write. And in Web3, actually now what Web3 wants to do, they don't only want you to be able to read and write, they actually want you to be able to own your data. And because in the Web 2, where we read and write, the companies whose name I shall not call are in possession of our data. Okay, and that's what Web3 side wants to prevent. That's what Web3 is central for. Now, the tool that Web3 used for that is blockchain. So one word, Web3 is just a blockchain-based internet. So users on the internet can decide what happens to their data. That's Web3 explained in one sentence.
Wow. Feels a little bit Harry Potter-esque also, like there's people we cannot name. No, but, no, but it's really interesting. And so there's also folks on the stream who have not or don't know anything about Web3, which is perfect, which is also what we're here for, right? So if you say it's decentralized, where does it live?
Yeah, so that's the big question. So first of all, Web3 doesn't exist yet. Okay, so I just said Web3 is a blockchain-based internet. So that means there's a big blockchain behind it. How big that blockchain is going to be, nobody knows yet. But I can already tell you there are already lots of blockchains happening right now, private, public. And then the question is also, why, if a blockchain is private, what's the use of it, of being decentralized, right? But now we're using terms, and maybe the viewers don't know what that is. So let me just start with what a blockchain is, because very simply, it's a chain of blocks. And each block contains data, okay? And those blocks are connected to each other through a hash, and that makes it a chain. So that's what a blockchain is. And that data, that could be anything. Could be NFTs, could be your patient profile, could be your ticket for a concert, or whatsoever. So in Web3, because it doesn't exist yet, we don't know how big that blockchain is going to be. We don't know how that's going to work. But it's actually, and now another term is being thrown in here, Metaverse will probably come up, will be your next question. Metaverse is a virtual reality, a virtual world where the blockchain is also behind, so that users can, live in the metaverse safely, having their assets, NFTs or coins or crypto on a wallet. And the wallet will be your identity on how you live in the metaverse or on Web3, which is the same thing. Only metaverse is just the virtual world where you have your cute avatar and all that. I discussed this also backstage, but it's actually, I have no idea how that's going to look because it doesn't exist yet. It's a philosophy maybe we don't want to get into because, it doesn't exist yet. Yeah.
So we are talking a lot about the future concept as well, right? As you said.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so
all of our minds are blown, and we're all just like, oh.
Yeah.
No, but does it? You mentioned crypto, right, as one example of blockchain already being in place.
Yeah, well, crypto is, it's an asset that could live on the blockchain, because the blockchain lends. You have to see the blockchain is a chain of blocks, right? And they have data, and so having transactions is a really good form, really something you want to keep track of. So it's perfect data for the blockchain, because what happens on the blockchain is always there. It's forever there. Okay, I can tell something about that too, but that's another story. Maybe we can get into that later. But once you put something out on the blockchain, it's forever there. You cannot take it. Even if you take it away, it would still be locked that you're taking it away. That's the big plus about working with a blockchain. It's also a huge disadvantage, right? So.
Can you tell us more about this, like pros and cons? About that it's going to be locked forever. At the same time, it's going to be a little bit of hassle around like taking out, right?
Well, there is no way of taking it out. So you have to imagine
No
the
way,
blockchain.
okay.
Yeah. So a blockchain is like a chain of blocks. Once you have your data put on the blockchain, for example, you deploy your smart contract on the blockchain, it's forever locked that your smart contract is locked there. Anything that happens in your smart contract when you're changing things, that is exactly what will be logged. Now, the disadvantage of that is that everybody will be able to see it. The benefit of that is that everybody will be able to see it, to interpret that, transparency, trust, reliability, maybe faster processes of getting through things. So personally, I think there's a lot of benefit to it. But it's all about perception and how you use it. And personally, I also find that very fun about building with blockchain, because I get to see like, hey, what's the benefit, the outcome that I want to achieve? Then I should architect or design my smart contract this way or that way. But you have to test it out a lot before you put it on a blockchain.
Because otherwise it will be forever there. Yeah, it's like real life. When you do something, you can erase it. I mean, we can go back in our lives. We can go back in our blockchain. It's like
the thing is only when you do it in your life. Like if I make a fuck up and I don't say anything about it, nobody knows.
Yeah, that's
right. By the way, I am going to talk about Wednesday about a fuck up that I made with a blockchain project for Storyblock too. So
nice.
So now people know. But in the blockchain, exactly. If you do make a fuck up, everybody does know. But here's the thing: maybe people want to know. Maybe we were like, oh shit, that was a fuck up, and maybe they would come to your help sooner. Maybe they would think like, hey, this is not something we want to repeat. Maybe we can do it differently. Okay, what's the progress? What's happening here? So, it's all about perception and how you use it. And I think it's a little bit too fast when people say like, yeah, they crypto, no, Web3, no. Blockchains. I think, for example, smart contract technology behind NFTs, that's exactly what made the NFT so cool. But most people only see the NFT as an overpriced picture. Yeah, how many of you thought of an NFT, heard me say the name NFT and was like, oh no, we're going to talk about that? No.
I just see monkeys and that's what I see.
So yeah. What is it that you guys thought when I said the word NFT, for example?
At my previous company for Christmas, we got to knit our own NFT sweater during COVID virtually. And that was our Christmas gift. And they were hideous. But it was really fun. And so that's my only association with it. But yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah.
That's a random fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but maybe if you wanted to, you could talk a little bit more about like what makes NFTs for you so interesting, because I have no clue except for the sweaters.
Yeah, well, it's great because NFTs, the one of the most fun things I find about NFTs, just the art and the design, and all front-end developers are like, yes, like that's really cool. The thing with smart NFTs that makes it even cooler is that there's a smart contract behind it. Now, a smart contract is a program that's on the Ethereum virtual machine. And the smart contract is actually like a normal contract, like a rental contract, only it works automatically. So for example, if something happens on the blockchain, if, for example, Alba is renting my house and we have a smart contract, that means my smart contract can keep track that every first of the month, I'm going to get money from Alba. And if not, it's going to send Alba a message on the second of the month and say, hey, Alba, where my money at? And I don't have to do that. Like I could be working, I could be giving a conference, and that would happen automatically, right? And the smart contract will keep track of that. Now with an NFT, what's really important, or what people really like, is people can see who owns the NFT. People can see how much it has been sold. People can see how rare the NFT is, like how rare is the art in a collection. Now, here's what the most important part is. If you have about 100 NFTs, and for example, Stephen Hawking brings out 100 NFTs. Surely you want to have that NFT, right? The guy's, super smart, one of the biggest scientists out there. He brings out 100 NFTs. Now, here's the thing. When he brings out the 100 NFTs, that first collection, it can never be changed into like, oh, let's add 50 more, or let's add 50. No, it's those 100, they're all unique. Now, to explain a little bit what an NFT is, it actually stands for a non-fungible token. So how many of you play poker, by the way? But you know the concept of poker, right?
Yeah. I mean, the normal
So
one.
the chip represents money. Now, in an NFT, a token actually represents the art. So you could turn a Mona Lisa into an NFT, but you could, for example, not turn a Bitcoin into an NFT, because a Bitcoin is exactly the same value as another Bitcoin. But the Mona Lisa, you can't, because there's no other Mona Lisa, at least,
And but there is a way of actually tracking that no one is duplicating your image, let's say, like the value of the NFT. How you can be sure that there is nothing similar, because it's just data, like the hash that it generates, or
yeah, that's a very good one. So the NFT is actually the token is being saved on something called an IPFS. The IPFS is super complicated, but it is, one word, decentralized database.
Okay.
So what does that mean? The art of the NFT. Let's say we have a flower. Okay, Stephen Hawking has a planet. Fits more his NFTs. A planet, and the planet looks red, yellow, blue. Then when you put that on the database, it has a certain hash, and that hash is unique to this art. If I would copy that and I would bring out my own collection and say like, he stole that from me, then people might think like, well, that's not true, because he released that 1 month earlier than you did, first of all. Second of all, it turns out that yours looks like a screenshot and his is the original because of the hash and all that. So it is retraceable which art was first before the other art. And also, do I actually want to do that? Like, do I want to steal Stephen Hawking's art? And because it's all transparent and everybody would know once one person would find out. So I don't think, when people talk about that, I don't think it's actually that beneficial for people to do that in the end.
That's perfect.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that helps with copyright. And because in general, what makes NFT interesting for me is that if you create art or you do a CD or whatever, no one can use that same thing. But of course, I guess the technology is not that broad to even tackle other kind of data.
Yeah, so in the beginning what happened is that a lot of plagiarism happened, but now big companies that actually scan a lot of NFT data, like OpenSea, which everybody knows OpenSea as a marketplace for NFTs, but it's actually an interface that scans the entire blockchain, all kinds of blockchains for NFT data. And so now, at some point, a lot of companies, they started developing, and probably now with the use of AI, that would be smart, to check certain art. Like, hey, this looks really familiar to some other art that we have. I'm not sure if you're being ethical here, and if not sure if we can allow you to put your NFT on our marketplace and really for other people to mint, because then you have to deploy a smart contract. So there's a lot of more security that comes with that right now. Another thing is with NFTs, is that ownership is really important. And I think what makes an NFT, now we just sold NFTs, but I had actually a workshop whereby AI art generators, maybe you guys heard of it. And I thought it would be fun to use an AI art generator to produce art and turn that into an NFT, and then let the NFT be minted, which means like being bought by somebody else that you just met in the workshop. So I'm connecting a utility to the NFT, a live utility. So this utility would represent that you and we met at the workshop because it was minted in that moment, and it would be even registered on the blockchain. And I think when NFTs are being used like that, like there's a utility connected to it, that's when it starts even having more meaning than just a pretty picture. So that's what I try to do with my workshop. That's also what I'll be talking about Wednesday, because did not always go so smoothly to mint the NFTs. But yeah, that's one of the things that I think that you have to be really aware of when you think about NFTs, like actually what's the utility behind it, I don't know if that's what you guys wanted to know, but because you're all quiet.
I think you clarify a lot of things that I work in Web3 for 3 months, but even in 3 months, I didn't get most of it. So it was really difficult for me to keep up with what way they were talking. And I think you explained it really easily, like really mundane words that I can understand, because I think Web3 people are in another level for me, like the conversations are different or something. No, but actually one thing that got my attention is you are creating decentralized apps. But when I was working in the Web3 company, we were creating frontends as a normal website. And I thought, but this is not decentralized. I mean, I'm saving this website in a host that is centralized. So I was like really confused all the time. Like, is this really Web3, or they just calling Web3 because we are using blockchain? But at the end, the front end is not decentralized. So I want to know your experience building these kind of applications that are decentralized. So what tools do you use to host them or to deliver them into the cloud without being in a cloud that is owned by these non-name companies? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear your dilemma. I did not work at the Web3 or blockchain company. I built dApps and then I teach about it. And I wanted to keep my apps really pure, so I could teach people about the pure context of Web3, which means like a nice front end, boom, connected to the blockchain straight away. Now, what's happening right now is that, first of all, companies always have the question, should I start using blockchain? Is it really beneficial for my company? Or, maybe I should. And then what they do, because they already have a Web2 database, like a cloud or MySQL, they start connecting the blockchain to it. And then all these complicated structures start to consist. And then maybe they think, no, blockchain is actually too expensive to use that because it also uses a lot of energy, and it's a lot of, what I said, once you deploy something, everybody can see it. Maybe that's not what you want to, so there's a lot of technical and ethical reasoning that comes with it. Now, what you're talking about sometimes could also be, and I don't know if that's the case, I do not want to make any assumptions, but also because crypto and Web3 did not have a really great name, or it went actually like this, is that companies on the outside, they presented themselves as just being a Web2 company. But then at the back end, they did use the blockchain and they did use the front end, MySQL or cloud, and then combined with blockchain because they still found that, easier to use, but they did not promote that outside to the customer, to the client, because Web3 or blockchain has such a bad name at some point. So maybe that's also something, where there starts to be confusing, like, why is this company using two types of, why not just one? And also, blockchain is not the magical cure. People think that. They ask me, like, Jessy, is blockchain really? And they're like, no, what are you trying to achieve? Yeah, this and this. Well, then you shouldn't use blockchain. And then they look at me and they're like, but you're advocating for this. I'm like, no, but I wouldn't act like I'm like a doctor. I wouldn't give you medicine that doesn't work for you. Like, well, what do you think? So that's, I just want to kill that myth. Like, blockchain is not a magical cure. It's just a technical tool, implementation, way of storing things that can be very beneficial if you use it the right way. And that's what you got to do. You got to look at it. How can I maximize its potential? And if it's better to still have a Web2 database next to that, or just, the regular, how we work to them, that's how that is. So yeah, if that answered your question, that's what I personally think about it professionally. Yeah.
No, but also in the beginning, I think you kind of answered too, because there is no Web3 entirely yet. So there is only like what they could build with what we have, the resources we have right now, and how we can work with it. Because if I think in decentralized, I think in a lot of servers, but at the end that servers are in a company, or at least someone owns them. So at the end, it's like there is no for everyone. Someone has that server. So that server has my data. So that's what I always get distracted with. That. It's like,
yeah, exactly. So, well, maybe to want to elevate, maybe to give some clarity, maybe on the term decentralized. Obviously, decentralized it's not with one person, okay? It is decentralized. Well, decentralized in blockchain actually means like you have a network of computers, and they're all connected to each other. Now, what does that mean in the case of blockchain? It means that, for example, the 100 NFTs of Stephen Hawking, if I have 200 computers, they all have a copy of the collection of Stephen Hawking with the 100 NFTs. And if this computer, for example, is called A and this one is called Z, then when, for example, I'm selling one of those NFTs that I bought to you, then A will be maybe working on that transaction because somehow, I'm in that database or connected or in the back end. And then boom, everybody would know, even the computer in Z and F and G and L and K, because it's a copy of the blockchain. They would all know immediately what's happening. And that is what is actually the potential of being decentralized. It's not only about, it's not with one person. This is what it actually means, having the copy and knowing what's going on. So I think in your case, maybe, or you're thinking like, wait, but it's still decentralized. Nah, but then they are more focused on how does it work, and it works faster that all the computers know what's going on, I think. But that's just the guess.
So basically, like decentralized, this term is always like the confusing one for me too. So basically, like instead of just one computer or one person like has the only original, the multiple numbers of the people and the multiple numbers of the computer and the network has the copies, and everything would synchronize. And that's how the data is considered as public, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's actually a decentralized peer-to-peer network. So with peer-to-peer, you kind of know like, oh, my peer knows what I'm doing and I know what my peer is doing. Yeah.
Okay, now finally the dots started to connect in my mind. Yeah, because this decentralized word was really like confusing for me. I've been reading several articles, but none of them make sense. Or I'm too stupid to understand.
It is really complicated. And when I give workshops about it, I also try to break it down. Decentralized is often also told in the news, I think, like bank has a banks are like central in our financial system, and they are centralized. So blockchain is decentralized. It doesn't need a bank. Now, a bank starts using a blockchain. Now everybody's confused. What? I thought it was decentralized. So, that's where the confusion comes from. I hope I explained that right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You really did. You really like pictured what I got so confused about this decentralized. Yeah. I think we have 2 questions actually coming up. So I want to pick those of them, if you don't mind. Let's read it out, and our awesome colleague Sid in behind the scene can bring it up. And okay, this is the question. Do you think some companies want to jump on the bandwagon bandwagon. I think I said right, of using the latest and greatest, but it's not the correct use case.
I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think when you, and you guys know this too, right? When you use new technology, you always got to look at it like, what is its potential? Like, what am I trying to achieve by using this technology? So the characters of the technology, and then my outcome, and then how do they really align, and how can I maximize the potential of both, also the potential of the outcome. Now, and when people don't look at it like that, then they start having gaps because they start using the newest technologies, thinking it's a magical cure, thinking, yeah, blockchain will fix everything. And then they're like, holy shit, this blockchain works so slow because all the computers need a copy. Yeah, duh. So it's like, that's inevitable about having a blockchain. And that's again about perception. Does it really work for you, or is it going to work against you? Well, if it's going to work against you, then you don't need a computer you could just have one computer that keeps track of everything. I'm just saying something. So I do think that some companies want to jump on the bandwagon, and also the same thing happens now with AI, right? People start using AI,
Indeed.
Companies start using AI, and actually then sometimes as us developers, we're looking at it and we're like, you didn't need to implement AI to solve this. Like, I could have written a script for this. Totally. And that's the same thing with blockchain. It is not a magical cure, okay? It's just a tool, and it's just to be looked at as one. And yes, it was the newest, and yes, it has a lot of potential, but if it doesn't match your outcome, it's not for you. So I do think that companies are jumping on the bandwagon. And these are probably the companies that think, hey, if we're staying a Web2 company for too long, we're out of the game. We need to become a Web3 company. But I don't think that, because Web3 is the future. It might be the future. It could become the future. You could still, like, as a front-end developer, if you work mostly in Web2 because you work on the front end, then that doesn't mean you don't have a job in Web3. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's all about perception. I think it's more about what you do with it than rather just to have it.
Yeah. And this AI example was like totally like describing the case. I mean, to answer this question, first of all, I see AIs in everywhere, and honestly, I see the cases that probably people didn't have to implement it for, So
it's also like it becomes this buzzword, right?
Yeah.
A company is now using AI. With some things, it's really like, for example, content creator, I love using Canva, for example. Canva has AI, and I thought, oh, that is really, okay, I didn't think of that. But then the way they use it, it was like, holy shit, okay, this is bringing something to the table. They really thought about how to maximize their potential. And that's a really good use case of, like, okay, they go with the trend, but they actually bring more value, because what do people want to do? They make creation and design better with with AI, easier, faster, more efficient, and that's how it should be, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. It should be beneficial and brings like additional value to it, not like just branding it and investigate in poor time. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. There's one more question. And I also want to know this. So is there a case where you might use both Web2 and Web3, or should it be just one or the other? I think it's related about the migration example.
Yeah. So the migration example, sometimes that happens. It's really hard to answer this question because it really depends on the use case, to be honest. But for example, let's say you have a hospital, right? It has an immense amount of data, patient data. And those are all on the cloud or in a database, etc. And it's very secure, it's very encrypted. Now, to take that all out and put it on a blockchain, that's going to take forever. But maybe through a blockchain, or maybe for clinics to have an availability, or for example, for patients to, own their data to some extent of what they want to show or not, it could be, something that could serve the patient. And so that is maybe a case where, I don't know exactly how, I'm just making this up out of my mind, thinking of circumstances, that could be a case where Web3, it's good to have that next to Web2 because of the history of the hospital and the patients, but still serving them and still giving them what they need or something like that. There are cases where
in the hospitals, because, for example, I moved from one country to another and they don't know anything about me. For example, my allergies, whatever, because they are like kind of private. And when they call each other, they don't have rights to ask for that for the country. And I think I can see the use case. Yeah, really interesting.
For example, if there was this blockchain, and that would be beneficial, for like international people like you. They would already know, like, hey, oh yeah, she's traveling or she's moving here, then okay, great, we know that she already gave you consent on this and this, then we could just get her medical records like that, because the consent, everybody knows in the blockchain that you already gave the consent, and then so that could be that's exactly that what you're talking about. Yeah.
And Alba is already developing the app that's needed for that in her mind. She's like, guys, sorry, gotta go. Got a side hustle now.
I wish. I think I will need Jessy, yeah.
I'm down. I'm down. Yeah, I'm down. Totally. Yeah, no, I get excited over things like this, to be honest, guys. I think this exactly that we're talking about that now, because Alba is actually talking about maybe a real life case that you experienced yourself. That's why you're saying this, right? And this is exactly where you can start thinking about this, or I can start thinking about, like, oh, what if there was a blockchain for expats, and then, I don't know, the blockchain would get consent from countries, where it's like, hey, if your citizen goes from your country to my country, this is what happens in the medical system. This is what we both find important. These are the outcomes that we want to achieve. And obviously you want to go smoothly, efficiently, etc. And maybe that's totally possible if you think about this, and also to, honor countries or the parties involved, what they want to protect, what they find important, because that's also often the case, right? Like, no, we don't want to share networks, right? But now with the blockchain, you can even put in your smart contract, you could even put the conditions, like a real contract. Like, hey, your citizen can come to my country with the medical records and all, but these are the conditions.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I never thought about it that way, because I thought always about everything being transparent and public, but not having your own data kind of in your back server, hidden from the internet, not connected through the network. And then the one connected through the network just giving consent of one day releasing that data to that specific person, country, whatever. I didn't thought it that way.
Yeah, I also thought like all the time public to everyone. So that's why maybe
I don't know why, yeah.
So that's also the big I'm not saying that's how it's gonna be, but that's like the big central thought of Web3, that you're in ownership of your own data. Now, how does it gonna look like? I don't know, because maybe my Instagram and Twitter and everything is already on the internet. And then after 20 years, I'm going to say, like, okay, I quit being a technical. I can take this anyway. So I take everything off. And then maybe it's not visible, but obviously it is visible in time that I took it on the internet. But just like, I mean, how many people here are like scrolling through Facebook profiles to see what somebody has done 5 years ago? I don't. Maybe people like ex-boyfriends, maybe, but
stalkers, I mean, baby reindeer.
In general, when it comes to things like that, I think not. Yeah. So Sid's coming back in and out.
Yeah. He wants to say something to us. We have a poltergeist.
I love that.
Oh yeah.
It actually gave me like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just have another question. But
okay. Yeah, then before I just came up with the other kind of real like use case, because I'm from Japan, and I mean the pension system between Japan and Germany is already actually like convertible. So even if I need to go back to my country for some reason, I still have this, like information, and I can get the pension. Same thing, it works. The pension I have paid in Japan, I can receive in Germany too. But there's like one lack of, let's say, the system in the pension in my country. Like, for example, there was like one time quite a huge news back in that time that the government actually lost the 10 years or a few years of the certain people's of pension data. So these people, these unlucky people, were not able to get these lost amount of the pension. So this could be prevented. I thought about if there's like this decentralized system from blockchain installed, so that even the government makes the mistakes, but I mean, once it's there, it's going to be there forever, and people can, I don't know, like ask the permission to get access at a certain point, not all the time. So I thought about it's a perfect use case.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. And insurances, for example, also a huge thing. Real estate, all those things that are important that are already for such a long time in our society, and that we think of is, oh, that will never happen. Well, I bet that's what those people thought that happened that too, So it's all cases like this. It's really beneficial.
So interesting. And it also feels like, for example, these like fraud cases on, I don't know, eBay, or of course, that's not as much money as if you are in real estate, but maybe in the future, it will be possible to do my shopping there and then be able to say like, hey, actually you had this product online, I paid for it. And now where's my, like, why did you just ship me an empty carton or something, right? Like it should be like a little bit more transparent that way.
Yeah, well, logistics is definitely one of the biggest sectors that are now involved in blockchain, because logistics, it's cool to know where that big bucket of tomatoes went to. I'm just saying something. But I was thinking of another use case. I just had it on the top of my tickets for concerts.
Oh yes.
How many of you ever bought a concert ticket, and then turns out like, what? I paid $130 for that, but then turns out it was $30. Now with the blockchain, there are companies actually that already do that, is where they're saying, okay, you're allowed to resell it, but it has to be against a fair price.
Oh, that's
so that the price doesn't go up, because also for the artists, it's not always great, that their tickets get resold the whole time, and then eventually people are not able to go, or not, like, they don't like that either. Everybody wants to enjoy music and wants it to be fair and fun and fair exchange of value. So there are companies, platforms that do that with concert tickets, actually, to prevent fraud and to also make sure that, how many times, I've never experienced that, but if you bought a ticket, then you went to the concert, you're super excited, you got the whole outfit, and they stood in front of the door, and then turns out the scanner doesn't take their QR code because the tickets are fake.
Fuck, yeah. Luckily, it never happened to me, but that's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it happens a lot. So that's also, I believe, what those platforms, they prevent that. When you want to sell your ticket, you obviously need to have some sort of code or whatsoever, so they can see that it's a true ticket, and it also will benefit the artist. Nobody likes it when your fans cannot come to your concert. So it's a win-win for everybody. So yeah, that would be a great case. That is a great case, I think.
Nice. And so you mentioned in the beginning, I'm just picturing myself finally being able to buy tickets to the Eras tour, but that's a different conversation. No, but like, so you were mentioning we're not there yet, quite. We're not in Web3. What is needed to happen for us to shift there fully? Like, what would be steps that would have to be in place, if that's even possible to say?
Ooh. Well, first of all, it's already hard for developers to understand the concept of blockchain. So can you imagine people not working in tech?
No.
Yeah. And that's not to denigrate them or anything, but the concept is just like it's complicated, and all the possibilities and the potentials and that comes with it. I don't know. Maybe that's also why I love to explain it in a simple way, also to understand it myself, to be honest. What is needed for that? Well, with things like NFTs and crypto and people making a lot of money, like people have a lot of emotion about money, so for the concept of blockchain, that doesn't really help. Even when people said like, yeah, crypto, I don't like it. NFTs are like, oh, you work in blockchain? Like, shame on you for working on it. I'm like, yo, I'm building smart contracts. Like, those could actually help people. So I think it's the understanding, it's the media, it's the philosophy behind it. But the same thing with AI right now, right? How many people are still at this point afraid of AI, even though because they see the potential. So maybe that's now the other way around. With blockchain, people don't see the potential because it's too complicated to understand, but they're still afraid of it because crypto and NFTs and money. But with AI, it's not like, oh shit, it can do so many things. It might replace us, and then they're scared. So it's always about understanding, getting clearance on it, knowing the context. How many steps will it take? I don't know. Maybe at some point only Web3 will only be in combination with Web2, because institutions like hospitals, governments, insurances, they are the one that are actually, it's more beneficial for them that way. But then a concert platform, they don't need a MySQL database only. They can go straight to the blockchain. So that's also like scalability. How big or small are things? So I think there's so many steps to it. I think that's why that answer is not an easy yes or no, or like, okay, these are 10 steps. Let's do it. I think just like with AI, it's always about the context and understanding. But mostly, once people start using it, for example, AI, ChatGPT, people start using it more. So they're getting used to it. I'm telling you, in about 6 months or 1 year, it will be totally different. Some people, they start having, Alexa, they start using the AI for other things, and then they find it beneficial, and then they don't see the danger in it anymore. So I think it's more about emotion, to be honest, than it is about executing steps.
So it's like a culture shift that's needed, basically, and a knowledge shift. Yeah, that's interesting.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what it's gonna take. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. It's like it with many topics, right? Like you mentioned AI. Like I work in accessibility, and it's not the technical part. Like developers can solve this technically. It's a matter of, are you aware? Do you want to? Do you value it? Does it have a priority, right? So it's really interesting. Mostly it's not the skill, it's the culture or the opinions. Yeah.
With accessibility, it's probably, I'm not going to say I get into it, but I went to a talk like 3 weeks ago, and I was kind of like, interested in what that evolves. And then I thought, yeah. If I would be a blind person, how the hell am I gonna use ChatGPT? How am I gonna learn this? How I watch YouTube videos? And for a company to make it accessible, but also for understanding. I think when you understand how somebody that is visually, how do you say this correctly, impaired or not have, once you understand that, then you're probably thinking, oh wow, if we do that for them, that'd be great. But like with the blockchain, like, wow, if we use the blockchain and we could have that impact for our users, that'd be great. But that openness, that willingness, that, understanding of technical and emotional context behind it, that's when people might step over the bridge and be like, okay, let's do it. But yeah, that's a lot of steps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, now you got me finally. I was skeptic for the last 55 minutes. And now I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can link it to accessibility. Now I'm sold. No, I'm joking. But sometimes, sometimes it takes like some familiarity for people like me to be able to connect it to something, right? And so, that's,
Of course. Yeah, of course. That's all that is. Mm-hmm. That's all that is. And people that say, oh, should I use blockchain for my company? They are trying to open themselves up to it, but they haven't gotten to the technical parts of it. So I think that's what that is.
So education is also the key to, let's say, like spread this cultural understanding and the cultural shifting, right?
Definitely. And also I would say, like I love art. Right. And so my last workshop, I was still like, shit, I still want to do something with NFTs. And sometimes conferences, one time the conference is like, yeah, we don't want really you to talk about NFTs because, and then I thought, well, do you know why it is so cool? It's like, yeah, it's just overpriced pictures. And I'm like, no, because of smart contract technology. And then they were like, oh, but why don't you just talk about, I said like, yeah, but I am. And so here you can see the emotion already. Like they wanted to shut me down because NFT, but they didn't understand the technical layer behind it. And that was 1 year, 2 years ago when crypto had a bad name, right? This year I still wanted to give a workshop about NFTs, but what I did, I connected the utility to it. Like, okay, how can I make the NFT more valuable? Well, maybe to mint it on the spot. And so it represents a connection between two people. And you could make it as fun and as crazy that it really represents something, or maybe Alba reviewed my code and I did 100 code lines, challenges with her. And I got an NFT as a prize from her or something. It could mean anything. It's just how you see it and perception, how you use it. So I think that's very important. That
cool.
makes sense.
I've been keep hearing that you're gonna do a workshop on this Wednesday, right? Right.
A talk.
Okay, a talk. Do you mind like sharing with us? And I guess our audience want to hear it as we are reaching to the end of our live streaming.
Yeah,
which I hate to say that, but I want to know about it before we wrap it up.
Yeah, so I've been talking about that workshop because for Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about a bug that I experienced due to blockchain development, in the area of blockchain development, before this workshop about turning NFTs into, turning AI art into NFTs. And so I want to talk, so it's called What the Bug, a blockchain breakdown. So I'm breaking down the blockchain in, small chunks, so for everybody to understand, but also what the bug, as in like I had such a huge bug, which was inevitable, that is really related to the characteristic of smart contract technology. So if I wasn't working with smart contract technology, I would not have this bug. So that's what it's about and how to deal with bugs and leadership and personal development. Yeah.
Really cool.
Okay.
That sounds very interesting. Yeah. Can folks still sign up if they're interested? We can share a link maybe or something.
Yeah, I think so.
First.
Do you have the link? Then maybe like we can share in the chat.
They can go to Storybook events, but well, I can start.
Yeah. Yeah, because if they still
and also it's going to be technical about blockchain, obviously, otherwise you're not going to understand the bug that I've experienced. But I thought it was also fun because this is going to be my first talk, actually. Normally I give workshops and online classes or do things like this, but that's going to be my first talk. So I thought it would be fun instead of, talking about what I've learned and what I've achieved, to talk about my failure. That's my first talk.
Yeah, I feel like those are the most interesting ones because it's so relatable, right?
I hope so, because as a developer, sometimes in the beginning of my career, I very often thought like, why is nobody talking about the hardships, how to deal with bugs?
Yeah.
But usually when you get coffee and your face is a little bit like, oh yeah, how's it going? Yeah, my Monday's going like this. Like, oh, a bug. Yeah, oh, I can relate. And that's when the interesting conversation starts. So that's why this talk is about bugs.
Really cool.
I think Alba is
still looking on. Yeah, right? While we wrap, I think our time is basically almost up. But if people are interested, besides the workshop, what would be a good place for folks to start if they want to get into Web3 and blockchain and basically what you do and what you were talking about? Where should people go?
So if you want to get into Web3, there are some great communities regarding Web3, where a lot of people that are either front-end developers or back-end developers start getting into Web3 tools and blockchain development. So those are great communities to ask for more resources. Obviously, ChatGPT, give me the top 5 blockchain courses or tools. But then what's most important is that if you do those courses, then go to the community and see what you can build together. Because as you can see already in our talk, 4 females in one room, all coders, we could have come up, I think we actually came up with, a few 2 or 3 business ideas that if we would work on that, next week for a few days, we could already send somebody a proposal. And that's when ideas start to happen. So that's very important when you work with Web3, because what I said, to see the characteristic and understand that and link that to the outcomes that you want to have, you need to talk about it. You need to see like, hey, what is it? How could I use it? And that doesn't happen when you just write your computer and do that on your own. It happens when you talk to people like this, or when you see real life cases like Alba, moving from another country to here, and suddenly be like, hey, that is what I want to use it for. Or Arisa, with their pension. So that's very important. Third is YouTube, obviously, and a lot of great Web3 content creators and followers on LinkedIn, I would say, because they give business analysis and they give you the trends, but also like they tell the truth, the good ones. They will tell you the truth, like, hey, it's not really about crypto. It's more about that people are making money and it's unknown to them what's really happening. So those are 3 things I would suggest to people to do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel like folks are going to be following all of this and catching up to learn more. This was super interesting, but I also feel like, at least for me, there's still a lot to learn, and this is like a great kickoff for that. So I guess it's time for us to wrap things up. Thank you so much, Jessy, for joining us.
Thank you all.
So educational. There was so much I need to Google now.
Good. See, and that's exactly what I would love for people to think about. So thank you guys for your time. It was really fun to do this. And I'm looking forward to Wednesday.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.